Alright, so this is going to be part 4 to what if Deku had a magic breaker. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro. Alright, so in the last video we kind of got to the point after USJ. So in this part we're actually going to go over the sports festival, I guess. So yeah, before we actually get into this video, I'd like to say that I have a Discord and I'll have a link in the description. You guys can go and join, and there's a lot of people discussing things like what ifs and stuff like that. So if you really want to join, I'll probably do some announcements there as well, probably earlier than I do on YouTube, like the community tab. So yeah, if you want to know the stuff that I'm going to work on beforehand, I'm going to post that in the description. I'm going to post that in the Discord. So yeah, we have around a little bit over 20 people in the Discord. So yeah, so in the last part, like I said, we just got done with the USJ and we're going over the sports festival. So in this part, Deku, I believe he was able to use 25% of One for All in this. So in this kind of week that he takes to train, he's going to train even harder than he's done in the past. He's going to try to use more of the percentage by getting his body more used to it and basically doing more strength training, right? So like I said in the first video, since he has a quirk that nullifies other quirks, he would spend most of his life training. That's why he's able to use 25% of the power. So yeah, I think he would also train a little bit with Aizawa just because due to the fact that the quirks are similar. So he's going to learn a lot of hand-to-hand combat from Aizawa, because not only do they have similar quirks, but they also have Deku has that admiration for him due to the fact that he's still a hero, yet not possessing any flashy kind of quirk or any quirk that enhances his physical combat skills. So yeah, so in this kind of week that he takes to train, I would say that he would do maybe some like weighted clothing, higher weights on his dumbbells, things like controlled breathing, and things like that, right? Kind of helping him. Like, I think he would also do things like basically those elevation masks, which is basically when you have thinner air, your body will start to produce more blood cells to kind of compensate for that, and it will let you train better and train longer, and they will also increase the size of your blood cells by a bit. So yeah, so after this week is done, he actually we would go to the first kind of day, or I guess we could go back a little bit back in time to the first day where Aizawa actually announces this and basically tells the class that there's going to be a sports festival, and it's very important for you guys to choose your internships well, because they will affect your future, and a lot of people regret what they made in the past. So he tells them that. So Deku would still have that kind of talk with All Might, talking about how he needs to give it his all when he goes to this kind of event, so that people know that he is going to be like the next symbol, right? He's going to be someone who's going to be that people want to look out for. So yeah. So after this is done, let's get to the first day of the sports festival, and that's when they're in the kind of waiting room getting ready. So this is when Todoroki actually tells Deku that he's gonna win and he's gonna prove that he's gonna be the number one, despite his, not using his father's quirk. At least that's how he describes it. And Bakugo would say something similar to Deku, talking about how I'm gonna beat both of you and I'm gonna be number one, and things like that. So after this is done, we would get to the part where they actually tell their speech, and Bakugo would still be the number one, and he would still do his speech. So yeah, he would still do that speech and people would get mad, and he would still get the same amount of boos that he would normally get. So we would get to the kind of obstacle course. So in this one, they would still kind of have that, what's it called? That big kind of gateway, and people would get crowded because too many would be trying to go at the same time. So Todoroki would be the first one to get out of there, and then followed by that would be Bakugo, and then the rest of Class 1A. So since Deku has more of an understanding of One For All in this, and he's able to use it more, I think after the training he'd be able to use around 30% of One For All. So he would use that kind of 30% in his legs to kind of help him run faster. So he would catch up to Bakugo and Todoroki pretty fast. Todoroki would still freeze the floor to trap most of the students that are there, but Deku would be able to be quick enough to dodge it and continue, right? So they would get to the point where they're at the kind of 0 pointers, and Todoroki would freeze one while everyone else kind of goes past. Deku would do the same, getting past them. I think that Deku would actually pass most of 1A and get to 3rd place. So in this one, we could say that they get to the point where it's the minefield, right? So Deku sees that Todoroki and Bakugo have an advantage because they could kind of glide a little bit. So it's kind of, he has to think of something to get past them fast, right? And he's not going to be able to catch up with this speed alone. So he starts thinking, right? And he decides to kind of use the bombs to his advantage. So he digs up a few of them, right? And lays them down. And he uses these kind of piece of the robot as a kind of board and uses that to launch himself. And he gets to the other side and gets number 1, just like he does in canon. So Todoroki would get 2nd, Bakugo would get 3rd. And we actually get to the kind of cavalry battle after this. So I think in this one we would still get the same teams, since Deku didn't show off his quirk too much, or at least not enough for people to notice. So yeah. So what would happen is that he would get the same team, that being Uraraka, Tokiyami, and Mine. So they devise a plan, right? Similar to how it was in canon, with Uraraka having the 3 main, people on the bottom be weightless, and Deku would not be able to become weightless because of the Imagine Breaker, basically negating the effects of 0 gravity. So it wouldn't work on him. So yeah. Also, Monoma's quirk wouldn't work on him since it would just negate it. So yeah. After this was done, they would go around. They would try to run around just how they do in canon, and Todoroki would try to come and use his ice to actually hit him, but they would see too fast. And this is when Bakugo would try to get Deku's headband as well, but again, Monoma would use this to kind of this distraction to actually get his headband, just how he does in canon. So Bakugo would be kind of distracted trying to get back at Monoma, then to actually go for Deku, which would be mostly Todoroki, right? So after a bit, Todoroki would have to, or Ida gives Todoroki the idea of using his reciprocal burst to kind of use that speed to basically blitz Deku, right? So he prefers to do his reciprocal burst, and he actually does it, and this goes past Deku, and in the process Todoroki actually takes his headband. So what happens at this point is that Deku has to find a way to kind of get back at his kind of he has to get his headband back, right? So since the 2 bottom ones are weightless, he actually decides to, or the bottom 3 are weightless, and he has Mine as the kind of hover. He decides to actually use his fingers to do that kind of flick, so he could actually use the shockwave to propel him forward and hopefully get one of the headbands, right? So Deku would turn around, and this is when he would use his index finger to kind of flick at 100% using his power, and this would actually launch him towards Todoroki and, be close enough to get his headband. So he would be face to face with Todoroki, and he would take the headband that he had, and after that he would go a few feet behind him, and he would check, and it wouldn't be the right headband. It would be a headband that's not really too significant, and Deku would be like, oh my gosh, like, I just wasted our one chance to get it, and how could I be so dumb? And then Tokiyami would say that no, I was able to get other headbands, and he was able to get one more, and this headband was Todoroki's original headband, so they're in the clear. So after this was done, Todoroki would kind of be amazed of how Deku was willing to injure himself just to get the headband, and the fact that he was so fast, right? So after this was done, the whistle would blow, and it would be the end of the cavalry battle, with Todoroki being first, Deku being in third, and Bakugo being in third, and Deku being in second, And the reason why Bakugo would still get in third, since he would take the headbands from Monoma, and yeah. So we get to the kind of tournament part. Obujiro would still ask or still tell Deku about Shinso's kind of mind control and things like that. So after that was done, most of the fights go the same as they were in canon, since nothing much changes. So yeah, we would get to the first fight with Shinso versus Deku, right? So Shinso would talk about how he's not really seen as a hero because of his quirk, and it must be nice to get all that recognition and things like that. So Deku would be like, what are you talking about? Why do you think this way, right? And this is when his quirk would activate, and Deku would start becoming mind controlled. And Deku's like, oh my gosh, I can't, why is my body like moving? And then, right as he's thinking this, it actually turns off, right? He's back in control. And Shinso would be like, well, what happened? And the reason why the mind control didn't work is because that Imagine Breaker actually nullified it. The thing would spread out, and it would just nullify it, and we come back. So Deku would just kind of have his one of his fingers on his head or on his forehead, and be like, oh, I'm sorry to tell you this, but one of my quirk has the ability to nullify anything it touches with my right hand, even if I don't want it to. So this was kind of an unfair fight. So Shinso, not seeing anything to lose from this, he actually rushes towards Deku, trying to push him out, just how he does in canon. But again, Deku wouldn't try to use his one for all, since he doesn't need it. He would just use his base kind of power, his base muscles, to kind of push him out, just how he does in canon. He would still congratulate Shinso for using his quirk in a very smart way, and things like that, to try to encourage him to continue trying to be a hero. So Shinso would appreciate this, and this is when we get to the second fight. So this fight would be against Todoroki and Deku. So I think Deku's one for all would be a lot more powerful, since he's done a lot more training, and his muscular build is a lot better than it was in canon. So Todoroki would start off with a few kind of ice attacks to kind of push Deku off the ring, but it doesn't really work. Deku has enough speed to kind of dodge him, and yeah, and any ones that kind of get close to him, he could use 20% in his fist, or not 20%, 30% in his fist to kind of smash it. Not the same way that he did in canon, where he uses the flick, but using his fist to just actually take physically have contact with it. So yeah, he doesn't break the ice as fast as he does in canon, but it's still enough to manage. So he's thinking to himself, why isn't Todoroki using his full power? And he tells him this out loud, and Todoroki's like, I'm gonna beat you without using his quirk, and I'm gonna prove that I could be number one without his power. And Deku's kind of angry at this. He's like, what do you mean? It's your power, it's no one else's. You decide what you want to do with it. And everyone's giving their 100% in this sports festival, and you should be doing the same. Anything less is just disrespectful and things like that. So after hearing this would actually inspire Todoroki to actually use his fire side. So Todoroki would be charging up his kind of fire side, just how he does in canon, with his entire arm engulfing in flames, while Deku would be there to try to counteract it. So Todoroki would launch his giant kind of fire at Deku, and Deku would use 100% smash on it, just how he does in canon, but his smash would be a little bit stronger than it was in canon, and it'd be stronger because he wouldn't be as injured, because in this point only one of his fingers are injured, which is his index, and it would be on his left hand, since well, I guess it doesn't really matter since he would be punching with his left hand anyways. So yeah, he would be able. So how I see the outcome of this fight is that Todoroki would lose slightly, and what would happen is that he would be knocked out of the ring, while Deku would actually be standing, but just barely, and he would be sent to the kind of recovery lady so that he could get healed. So yeah, he would barely win this fight, and Todoroki would lose by just a bit. So after this, we would get to the kind of fight after this, and we would actually go against, or it would be against Deku and what's it called, Bakugo, and Deku would be kind of mad because of the way that he treated Uraraka a little bit. So he would actually try a little bit harder, or he would try going all out, and he would tell this to Bakugo, and he would tell him not to hold back or else he's gonna lose. So Bakugo would be very angry that Deku could even consider this. So they would go all out at the beginning, and what would happen is that Bakugo would rush towards Deku and try to explode in his face. I think Deku at this point would try to parry it and grab him with his right arm and kind of pin him down, and because of this he wouldn't be able to use his explosions because it would be nullified. So after he gets him on the ground, Bakugo would kind of he would basically pull his head back and actually hit Deku on like the chin, causing him to kind of stumble back a bit, and Bakugo would be free, and he would rush him again. This time Bakugo would not do the same thing as he did before. He would actually go for a lower hit and use the kind of explosion to go upwards to kind of blind him at the same time. Deku, what he would try to do is that he would try to jump back a bit, but not too far because he would get off the platform, causing him to lose, and Bakugo knows this. So what he does is after he gets him at this point where he's like near the edge, Bakugo actually tries to go for a howitzer impact and goes and starts spinning towards Deku. Deku doesn't really know what to. He's kind of pushed back against a corner, and what he does is right before he hits Bakugo actually hits, he actually jumps into the air a bit and actually does like a he has like both of his hands and kind of slams Bakugo into the ground before he actually hits him. So he would hit him towards the ground, and this would cause a massive explosion. But because of the impact that Bakugo sustained from getting hit by Deku mid-air, would actually cause him to get knocked out and letting Deku become the winner. So yeah, they would still kind of do that kind of award ceremony, not award ceremony, but basically they would give the medals out. They would tell each of them what they did wrong and things like that. I'm not really going to go over it because I've done it a lot of times, but yeah, this is going to be the end of the video. If you liked it, give it a like, and maybe I'll do the next part if people like this one. So yeah, with that being